What's up guys, Atapark here, and today we are doing another video in our series that I have so aptly dubbed, So You Want to Make a Guild. This is very obviously where we sit down and we take a look at the creation process of making and creating a guild in World of Warcraft. And I was going through the list of topics that I want to talk about for various different episodes of this series, and something hit me. I have missed an obvious topic. One that once it hit me, I was like, holy crap, how have I forgotten to talk about this? Because this is, if you take one video out of this series, this right here is the one that I want you guys to take away. And the reason for this is this video right here, which should have been the very first video in the series, is the one that you should kind of look at and hear what I'm saying, and this should be the deciding factor, what I'm going to talk about here, if you should even create a guild. And so that's kind of why this is like video 0, because we are going to be talking about today, what is a guild leader? What is the whole point of being the guild leader, the thought process behind it, and what your job is as the guild leader. So I guess let's start off with, what is a guild leader? Obviously, the guild leader is the person that is in charge of the guild. They may have been the one that has created the guild, or they may be the one that has inherited, in my case, after a decade of playing, the one that has inherited a guild from a former guild leader. And they could be, in my case, someone that was a normal raider, kind of slowly made their way up the chain, became an officer, became a guild leader, etc. Or in some cases, it could just be a role that's thrust onto somebody. Hey, I don't want to be the guild leader anymore. You seem to be an active player. Bam, you got it. Either way. Or obviously the third one, like I said, is the one where you can create the guild yourself. Regardless of how you come into this role, you have certain responsibilities, you have a job, and that is something that I think a lot of guild leaders, especially new ones, especially those who are new to raiding, are new to MMOs, or new to World of Warcraft, they get a group together, they create a guild, they don't really think it all the way through, and they think, hey, I'm going to be a guild leader. I don't have to answer to anyone. I don't have to do what anybody says. I can do whatever I want. It's going to be awesome. I get all the perks. None of the bad things happen to me. All the pros, none of the cons. It's going to be the best ever. And it's not. It is not. I will tell you that when I became the guild leader of my guild, it was a night and day difference between becoming a normal everyday raider where I would log in, do whatever I want. I'd show up to raid, 10, 15 minutes early. I'd get my raid spot. I'd be there, buffed up, all that stuff. Promoted to officer. And then again, there's an even bigger gap between becoming an officer and then being that guild leader. And there is a reason for that. The reason why there's such a huge gap, and the reason why a lot of people fail in this regard, is you don't understand the amount of responsibility, you don't understand the amount of work, you don't understand the eyes that are on you, the people that are counting on you to fail. And you don't understand that you're not the top dog in the guild. Yeah, you're the guild leader, but you answer to every single guild member in the guild. So there are 3 things that you as a guild leader need to think about, can you do, and you should be doing if you want to assume the position of guild leader. The 3 things that we have here, the first one is you need to be able to and always set the example. What this means is, how can you as the guild leader tell the rest of your raid that they need to upgrade their gear if your gear isn't upgraded? How can you tell them that they need to know the raid strategies, that they need to spend 30 minutes looking up raid strategies before the raid, but you can't explain the raid strategies? How can you tell people how to do anything if you're not willing to do it? And that, as a leader in general, especially, and I've said this before, when it comes to playing a game where there is no monetary incentive for 99.9% of the people that play this game, unless you are a sponsored player, which most of us are not, let's be honest here, there's no monetary gain when it comes to playing this game. So you need to set the example. You need to show others, hey, I can do it, so you can do it. If I can do it, I can ask you to do it because I'm the one that's also doing it. I understand what you have to go through to get to this point. I understand that you have to run LFR and Mythics and Heroics, and you have to do these things to get Valor points right now to upgrade your current gear. I understand that. I've done it too. You need to be able to set the example. That way, when you say something, when you speak about something, you can speak from experience, and people aren't going, well, why does he get away with it? Because that should never be the case when you are in a leadership position. Why does he get away with it? There is no getting away with anything. You are front and center as the example of what everyone else in that group should be like. They should aspire to be like you. And if you are doing these things where you're coming to the raid late, and circumstances, we know, a circumstance, you're late from getting out of work or, whatever the case might be, that's one thing. But if it's a consistent disinterest or disrespectful notion about trying to get in the raid group, how can you expect your raiders to log in on time? If you want them to do it, you need to also do it. The second job of a guild leader is you need to push your group towards the goal that you guys have set forth. So when I inherited very quickly, and it is a story that I've shared with the initial intro video for this channel, when I very quickly inherited the role of guild leader, one of the things that I did, almost the first thing I did that night, was I sat down with the entire raid group, and I was very blunt and said, hey, what do we want to do? Do we want to take a break and not raid in Siege of Orgrimmar until the next expansion comes out? Do we want to do that? Do we want to keep pushing forward? Do we want to keep trying to recruit and bring people in? What difficulty do we want to do? Do we want to do normal? Do we want to do, I guess it was flex? How far do we want to push ourselves? And I did the same thing when Warlords of Draenor came out. I said, okay, guys, this expansion is out. Here is the date that we will start raiding. What difficulty are we raiding at? And the group told me, we want to do Heroic until we can get enough people to do Mythic, and then we want to jump into Mythic. And that is what I did. And there were hurdles, there were stumblings, there were difficulties, but that is your job as a guild leader, is to push the group towards their goals. If they say they want to do something, your job is to make sure that they are on that path. That means that you are recruiting players that are geared up for whatever difficulty, that are ready, that are knowledgeable, that are experienced, that can do the job, that you are pushing those that are weak in the raid group. If somebody is pulling lower DPS than their peers, meaning you have 3 mages, 4 mages in the group, hypothetically speaking, and 3 of them are pulling 100k, and 1 of them's pulling 50k, and they're all about the same gear level, somebody needs to sit down with that guy and talk to him and say, look, here's the deal, let's fix it. If people are being rude, disrespectful, showing up late, your job is to either fix the situation or replace them, because your end goal is to get to wherever you need to be, and you need to make sure that that path is clear, that you are getting rid of those that aren't needed, that aren't supposed to be there, that are cancerous to the group, and promoting those that are doing their job. That means if somebody is hot shit, if they are doing their job, if they're pulling great numbers, if they show up on time, promote them. And I'm not saying make them an officer, but call them out during the raid. Look at this guy's DPS. Look how many ads he killed. Make it a competition. Make sure that people that are doing their damnedest to do what is right are getting recognized. Push that group towards the goals that you as a group have set forth. And the third thing that you need to make sure that you do and that you always strive towards is that you create and maintain structures that allow the organization to function when you're not there. Now, what does this mean? This means several different things. This means if you are not logged into the game, that you know that all hell is in fact not going to break loose. Why? Because you have officers in place that will take care of things when you're not there. If you are going to miss a night, you know that your officers have your back. If you are going on vacation, you know that there's nothing to worry about, only the loot that you're not going to get, because the group's going to be fine, because the officers are there and the people are of the right mindset to be respectful and listen to the officers that you've appointed. I will tell you guys, one of the scariest things was when I was sitting here at my house and we were getting awful storms. We were getting storms and everybody's power was getting knocked out. Internet was getting knocked out. It was just not a fun time. And this was, I don't know, maybe a year ago. We were in Hellfire Citadel, so about a year ago. And one of my officers said, hey, he texted me and said, look, I'm going to be late to the raid. I don't know when I'm going to be here. I'm stuck at work. There's a lot of stuff going on. I could maybe not log in tonight. And for a second, I said, shit, I can't log in. I have no internet. I have no power. I'm sitting here in the dark, texting people on my cell phone. I got nothing. And my only officer is stuck at work. He won't be able to log in. What do? I didn't worry about it. I took a breath and I said, you know what? I have raid members in place that will take the lead and they will run a raid. And sure enough, a couple of my raiders took the reins and they led that raid. And they successfully killed bosses that night. Now, they messaged me afterwards and said, holy crap, we never want to do this again. We get why your blood pressure is so high, but we did it. And that is what I'm talking about, is if you cannot make it, if you can't log on, you need to make sure that there are structures, that you have officers and you have responsible people in place that are willing to take that initiative, take the reins, lead the raid, and kill a boss or two. So again, you need to set the example, you need to push the group towards their goals, and then you want to make sure that you have structures so that when you're not around, the group and the guild functions accordingly. With all that being said, if you cannot handle this, if you cannot do these things, then you need to take a good, hard look at yourself. You need to sit down and go, look, am I the right person to lead this group? Am I the right person to lead this guild? Just because you're an amazing player doesn't mean you're going to be a good leader. That doesn't mean that you're going to be a good guild leader. And that's something that we'll talk about later. But you need to be honest with yourself. Don't waste your time. Don't waste everybody else's time getting your hopes up and their hopes up that you're going to be this amazing guild leader if you can't do these simple things. Because these things are simple, but also understand that these things are you answering to your guild members. With all of that being said, hopefully you guys like the content that you're hearing here. If you do, give this video a like, hit that thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate that. Or if you'd like to see more content like this, by all means hit that subscribe button. Both of these things encourage me a great deal to continue to make content like this. If you have any ideas, comments, questions, concerns, hit me up on Twitter at ATTIPARK. It's in the description box below. And until next time, guys, I'll see you.